Today we've got a Maxcom 6E. You don't see many of these. But will we be able to do anything with it? February 1982. It all stems on that power connector. We'll see. Okay, back with the Maxcom 6E. What I've done here is to replace the rather worn out, mashed up power connector with one off a scrap chassis. They're all the same on these Maxcom built sets for the UK, and so we provided a new power lead for that. We've done a new mic, used one of those nice metal Nutrix plugs that I use, and the basic set seems to be kind of working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through the VCO with you, because with it being a bigger set, I just went up to get the test meter. You can get to it really easily, which you can't necessarily with something like the Maxcom 20E. So I'll just connect the negative prod to chassis. Which, in fact, I'll tell you what, we'll do that with a crocodile clip, because it's going to go all over the place. There's never a crocodile clip lead when you want one. And the only one I can find is a red one. Do I look bothered? So the test point, and I'll zoom right in on this once again, is where it says test point. Now I can't, the prod I'm using, the pin on it isn't long enough to go into that test point. So I'll tell you what, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to solder a little pin to it so I can show you from this side. I'm not faffing around on the other side of the board. You can actually see what I'm doing. I'm just going to pause the video. We'll solder a pin into that hole. Do you know, you really couldn't make this up. I've got a photocopy here of the original instruction book, which has all the alignment details and the circuits. And the test point is where I just showed you, except it's not fitted on this particular one. None of those components are fitted. So all I could suggest is we could check it at pin 17 of the phase lock loop chip. We're looking at channel 40. And it's under 5 volts, it's going to be in lock. This doesn't follow the instructions at all, because, you know, what can you do? The components aren't there. We press transmit. Let's see what we've got. We've got 4 point something. Let's go to channel 1. Got 2.4 on receive, 2.19 on transmit. Obviously, I mean, that's fine, and the coil hasn't really been touched, so that's fine. But I was going to tell you all the instructions once again. I'll read the instructions to you. Set the radio to channel 40 in the transmit mode. Connect the electronic voltmeter between the test point and ground. Adjust L116, which is that one I showed you, to obtain 3.2 volts. Set the channel to number 1 in receive, and check that the test point drops to between 0.3 and 1.5 volts. As long as the DC level stays between 3.2 volts DC for transmit and 0.3 volts to 1.5 volts for receive, then the VCO is set properly. and that doesn't fit in at all with what we've just done. But it's in lock. Right, we'll go back to the real job of doing the tune on this. So the first transmit, this radio is working. Basically, it just needs peaking up. So transmit, the first one is 107, and 107 is there. It's doing 3.2 watts. The next coil is 109. Next coil is 108. The next coil is that open construction L110. The power's actually dropped, it's now 3.1, but that's because as the radio is heating up, it's producing less power. So the next one is 111, which is the one with the wax in. So carefully melt that. Use the yellow tool for I do for this. It's 3.4. And then the next one is 115, and that's got wax in the core. And that's just a hair breadth away from 5, so I'll just backtrack on that one. That's fine. Spot on the 4. So once again it was 107, 109, 108, 110, 111 and 115. And if you find that you can produce 5 watts, that's the one you're going to adjust the power with. That's the one you'll detune. Now it's doing 4 watts, we need to check that it's doing 4 watts on the meter. And then key up and the meter says what? That wasn't a pun either. Well, it swings right across, so that's no good to us. The TX meter on these radios is the preset down there. There's 2. One's deviation. No, it isn't. One's S and one's RF. And it's that one, just hiding under the wiring there. So we'll just set the RF meter. And that's now set up. Now the radio's got high-low power in line with the MPT 1320 specification. So we'll just check that on low power it's 0.4 of a watt. It's 0.5 of a watt, so slight adjustment there. And the preset for that is 102, which is just there. These often need cleaning, and this is no exception. I use the Servisol's switch cleaner. That's now 0.4. So now we'll set up the deviation. And we'll get the little oscillator. feature the camera on. Right hand oscilloscope. And it's actually just over the top. And 105 is the deviation. Oh, it is the one next to it, yes. Yeah. That back one was the RF meter, and that's the deviation. It's my memory. So now I'll just give it the whistle test. It's just over the top. Wallow, that's spot on. Then we'll check the radios on frequency. Channel 20, so it's 27.79125. It's 27.79081, and of course, as you know, crystals drop with age, so that's, we'll just pull that up with the trimmer TC. We could read the, I think it's 201, and that's there. (27.79126). That's fabulous. So that's it. That concludes the transmit on the Maxcom 6E.